The Tech Market Situation is Crazy by Sebastian Carlos, 2026. In 2026, the job market is tough. AI plunged us all not only into economic despair, but into philosophical questions. What is consciousness? Is our craft being commoditized? Why aren't manual workers the first victims, as we subconsciously hoped when we chose this white-collar career? Fear not, there is nothing to worry about. Worrying implies being able to plan ahead. Planning requires predictability, but nothing is predictable. This is an unprecedented event, like the Neolithic Revolution. Therefore we cannot worry, only despair. Yet we have the agency that no AI agent can dream of. Our bodies, with organs, calibrate our biological weights with a single focus. We need money to exchange for goods and services, these days mostly goods in the shape of food. So, I took it upon myself to get a job. Here's how I did it. The CV. As a developer with 10 plus YOE, I saw fit to build a custom CV generation framework in Bash, consisting of a 5+ pages master CV with all my skills, in Markdown, a Pandoc filter converting it into a Harvard-style CV in GNU Rough, then into a final PDF. Rough is not only a flex, it's the fastest Markdown to PDF generator by a couple of milliseconds, an AI updating my title, description, work experience and technologies for every given job. It keeps the most relevant things that fit in one page. In case I don't match all requirements, it makes up stuff too. My CV says that I have a blog with 6K followers. This one, most of the content is satirical and a vile attack on our industry as a whole. I hope that any employer would look past the red flags and favor my nerdy interest in outdated technologies, like GNU Rough, the LinkedIn/Upwork pipeline. I knew I needed to pull my A game. So, for the first time in my career, I bought a personal domain, using the typical name at name.tech format, pointing to a Proton Mail MX record. I was too lazy to make a personal website, so going to name.tech redirects to my LinkedIn page, which is, after all, the best description of who I am as a person. I noticed that Upwork now charges money for sending applications. As I spent my remaining savings on my domain name, the novelty tld.tech was quite expensive. I had only $5 to spend, which allowed me to send 2.5 applications. One of them was an AI-guided video interview, which I flunked, likely due to spending 10 minutes explaining how, despite being a NeoVim purist, I was willing to compassionately install VS Code to pair program with my less capable colleagues. With Upwork no longer available, I focused on shilling and exploiting my LinkedIn network, particularly those who saw me working as a young naive person who still believed in this entire charade. My last asset was my past sincerity, now cynically leveraged. Luckily, it worked. My week as a Claude Code Orchestrator, an old employer, from when I was a hard-working dreamer, was looking for a TypeScript dev. The job was a platform as a service/software as a service multi-tenant B2B WIP POC MVP for a niche market, itself using several software as a services for all non-trivial functionality. The 60K lines of code were entirely vibe-coded by a sushi chef. The team was encouraged to use Claude Code. I, instead, split my time 10% on Jira tickets, 90% creating a Vimwiki documenting the codebase. This investment would prove invaluable as soon as the order to refactor legacy code arrived. Granted, the entire team produced 10x more than me. On week 4, I conceded and installed Claude Code. To my dismay, it made me more productive. After all that psychological exhaustion, I took week 5 to recover by taking extended lunch breaks. I felt it was fair restitution. I was promptly fired by week 6. As a parting gift, I thought of handing over my Vimwiki, but by that point it was outdated. 50% of the codebase had changed into equally sashimi quality code. 6 months of HR purgatory. Back in the grind, a lead for a startup landed on my Proton Mail. I followed it through all kinds of interviews, lead code, system design, AI empathy, gigantic take-home exercises. At the very last minute, the HR lady told me the position had been filled internally, but that a new role was about to open up, and they would keep me in the loop. So, I set up a cron job. Footnote: it's actually a system D-time unit, not a cron job. I'm not hardcore in its system purist, and I do like Lennart Poetering as a person. End of footnote. To email the HR lady once every week, asking if there was any news. If the answer was something other than the generic nothing yet, I would receive a custom ANSI alert sound on my terminal to craft a custom response. This often happened because their Python project fell through, but were about to secure a mythical new role in Java and wanted to know if I knew Java. Of course I know Java. This kept going until summer, when she told my automated script that there was nothing available for the short term. I took that to mean they were officially offboarding me, even though I had never been officially onboarded despite writing 5K lines of take-home Python software as a services. Honestly, I knew I wasn't getting the job from day one, but I built the script and kept it going for 6 months just for petty revenge. If I managed to cause the tiniest annoyance to an HR person through malicious compliance, it was all worth it. I could have applied elsewhere in the meantime, but only desperate people keep multiple pipelines. That's not me. My gig as a doorman. Facing financial ruin, I was finally forced out of the digital space. The neighbor of a second cousin introduced me to his boss, the superintendent of a residential building. During our short introduction, I tried to convey that, while I saw the entire ordeal degrading, I was going to take the job seriously. Also, my innate misanthropy made me great at dealing with people, so I ended up as a doorman. Manual labor had finally caught up with me. Technically this was just another desk job, but with much less to do. The night shifts were long, so I often read a barely hidden book. I also enjoyed learning the deepest secrets of the people living there. The building's young bachelor brought a different lady every weekend until he settled down with one of them. One night, the bachelor came down to pick up his DoorDash. He asked what I was reading. Capitalism and Schizophrenia by Deleuze and Guattari, I answered without looking up. One thing led to the next, and the bachelor mentioned he was running a small startup, which was totally stuck, because the previous devs decided to build it on NixOS. NixOS? That's basically GNU Gix. I said, I can help you with that. The young bachelor gave me a job on the spot. I quit that very morning. Not without a dramatic talk with the superintendent. I was consciously stepping on the grass when we met. Around us, the smart lighting installation was throwing geometric shadows over the walkway, barely visible under the sunlight. Clock to sync, most likely. I spoke platitudes about how we both knew this day would come and that I'm not spitting on the ground right now only out of respect for Miles, the cleaning guy, who was pretty chill. Closing thoughts. The key to surviving the AI revolution is being uncompromisingly stubborn, being passive-aggressive to HR, spending months of self-sabotage, reading French philosophy, metaphysical self-sabotage, and knowing obscure Linux-based software. Eventually, for some reason, everything will turn out just fine. And remember, if you are better than them, wear that with pride.